I kept a secret from my son and his wife for 12 years, a secret that, looking back now, saved my life. When my husband Richard died in 2011, I was 62 years old and suddenly alone for the first time in 40 years. The grief was crushing, but what made it bearable was knowing that Richard, in his meticulous way, had left me secure. He'd always been the planner in our marriage, the one who thought 3 steps ahead while I lived in the moment. Among the papers the attorney handed me was a life insurance policy, $2 million. Richard had taken it out 15 years before he died and never mentioned it to anyone. Not to me. Not to our son David. Not to anyone. The monthly premiums came straight out of his business account. When I asked the lawyer why Richard never told me, he just smiled sadly and said, "Richard told me once that he wanted you to never worry. He said the best insurance was the kind you never had to think about." I cried for 3 hours in that office. The money changed everything and nothing. I stayed in our home in Greenville, South Carolina. I kept volunteering at the library. I kept my Wednesday lunch dates with my book club. I didn't buy a sports car or take a cruise around the world. I lived modestly on Richard's pension and Social Security, and I never touched that insurance money. It sat in investment accounts, growing quietly, a safety net I hoped I'd never need. I didn't tell David about it. Not because I didn't trust my son. I did. David was a good boy, always had been. But his wife Jessica, that was another story. David met Jessica when he was 35. She was 28, beautiful in that carefully maintained way, all highlighted hair and expensive gym memberships. She worked in pharmaceutical sales and made good money. David was an accountant at a mid-sized firm. They seemed happy enough. But from the beginning, Jessica had this way of talking about money that set my teeth on edge. At that first Thanksgiving dinner, she spent 20 minutes telling me about the investment property they were looking at, how it was important to build wealth, how people who didn't think strategically about money were leaving opportunities on the table. I smiled and passed the cranberry sauce. They got married 6 months later. I wasn't invited to help plan the wedding. Jessica's mother handled everything. I wrote a check for $5,000 as a gift, which Jessica accepted with a tight smile and a comment about how every little bit helps. Every little bit. My $5,000. Over the years, I watched my son change. He started using words like portfolio and liquid assets. He stopped calling just to chat. Every conversation became about their renovation, their new car, their timeshare in Hilton Head. And always, lurking beneath it all, questions about my finances. "Mom, are you sure you're managing okay on Dad's pension? We worry about you. Have you thought about downsizing? This house is too big for one person. You could make a nice profit. Do you have a financial advisor? Jessica knows someone great. You should really think about your future." My future. I was 65, then 70, then 75. I had a future they wanted to manage. I kept my secret. Then, 3 years ago, something shifted. David and Jessica started visiting more often. Every Sunday afternoon, they'd show up with coffee from Starbucks and concern on their faces. "Mom, we've been thinking," David said one Sunday. He was 52 now, graying at the temples like his father had. "This house is really too much for you to handle. The stairs alone, what if you fell?" "I'm 74 and I walk 3 miles every morning," I said. "I think I can handle my own stairs." Jessica leaned forward. She was wearing white pants that probably cost more than my weekly grocery bill. "Margaret, we're just worried. You're all alone here. What if something happened? What if you had a medical emergency and no one knew for hours?" "I have Life Alert," I said, "and my neighbors check on me." "It's not just about emergencies," David said. He was using his careful accountant voice. "It's about quality of life. There are wonderful senior communities. You'd have activities, friends your own age, medical staff on site. You want to put me in a nursing home?" "Not a nursing home," Jessica said quickly. "A retirement community, active living. We actually looked at a few, and there's one in Myrtle Beach that's just beautiful. Ocean views, a golf course, all your meals included." "I don't play golf." "Mom," David's voice had an edge now. "We're trying to help. We worry about you every day. You're not getting any younger. What if you fell and broke a hip? What if you forgot to turn off the stove? What if I said no?" Silence. Jessica recovered first. Of course it's your decision. We just want what's best for you. She glanced at David. And honestly, if something did happen to you, we'd be responsible for handling everything. Your estate, the house, all of it. We just want to make sure everything is in order. There it was, my estate. I smiled sweetly. Don't worry about me, dear. I have everything in order. After they left, I sat in Richard's old chair and thought about that conversation for a long time. Something felt wrong. The timing, the sudden concern, the specific mention of my estate. The next morning, I called my attorney, Helen Morrison. I'd known Helen for 30 years. She'd handled Richard's estate and had been pestering me for years to update my will. Margaret, she said when I arrived at her office, please tell me you're finally going to do that estate planning we've been discussing. Actually, I need to ask you something first. Has anyone contacted you asking about my finances? Helen's face went very still. Why do you ask? Please, Helen. Has someone called? She sighed. 2 months ago, I received a call from a woman claiming to be your healthcare proxy. She wanted to know details about your assets, said she was helping you get organized. I told her I couldn't discuss client matters and asked for your authorization. She hung up. My hands went cold. What did she sound like? Youngish, professional. Said her name was Jessica Morgan. Jessica had used her maiden name. I sat back in the chair. Helen, I need to hire a private investigator. Helen didn't even blink. I know someone. Former FBI. Discreet. Do you want to tell me what's going on? So I did. I told her about the visits, the pressure to move, the questions about my estate. I told her about the phone call. Helen listened, her face growing grimmer. When I finished, she said, Margaret, I'm going to say something I never thought I'd say about someone's child. I think you need to protect yourself. The private investigator's name was Robert Chen. He was in his 60s, calm and professional. We met in a coffee shop in Columbia, an hour away from Greenville. Mrs. Fletcher, he said, I need you to understand something. If we do this, we might find things you don't want to know. I already know, I said. I just need proof. It took him 3 weeks. What he found made me sick. David and Jessica were in serious financial trouble. They'd over-leveraged themselves on investment properties that had gone south. They'd taken out a second mortgage on their house. Jessica's credit cards were maxed out. They were drowning in debt, nearly $600,000. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the internet search history Robert pulled from Jessica's laptop. She'd been careless, using public Wi-Fi at coffee shops, never imagining someone would be looking. Searches for elderly falls statistics. How long does it take to die from a fall downstairs? Medications that cause dizziness in elderly. Life insurance policies on elderly parents. What happens to estate if person dies without will? And then, most chilling of all, how to make a fall look like an accident. I sat in Robert's office and stared at those printouts until the words blurred. Mrs. Fletcher, Robert said gently. We need to call the police. Not yet, I said. My voice sounded strange, distant. I need to be sure. Sure of what? That your daughter-in-law is planning to kill you? When he said it out loud like that, it seemed insane. Impossible. Things like this didn't happen in real life. Except they did. I need to know if David is part of it, I said. I need to know if my son. My voice broke. Robert nodded slowly. Give me another week. That week was the longest of my life. I went through my normal routine: Wednesday book club, Thursday volunteering at the library, Friday coffee with my neighbor Patricia. And every Sunday, David and Jessica came to visit. And I smiled and poured coffee and died a little inside every time I looked at David's face and wondered. Robert called on a Tuesday. He knows, he said. I'm sorry, Margaret. David knows. I closed my eyes. You're sure? I have recordings. They were in their car. Jessica's phone was in her purse, still connected to their car's Bluetooth. It recorded their conversation after they left your house last Sunday. Play it. I heard my son's voice first. She's being stubborn about this. Then Jessica. David, we're running out of time. The bank is going to foreclose in 3 months. 3 months. We need that house. She's my mother, Jess. And she's 74 years old, living alone in a big house she doesn't need. It's not wrong to want her to be somewhere safe where we can sell the house and pay off our debts. A pause. Then Jessica. She won't even know. Elderly people fall all the time, the stairs are steep, maybe she forgets to hold the railing one day. Maybe she takes that sleeping pill the doctor prescribed and gets confused in the night. Jesus, Jessica. Don't Jesus Jessica me. You're the one who said we had no other options. You're the one who found out she has no will. Everything goes to you by default. The house alone is worth $500,000. And if there's any other assets, she said she has everything in order. Jessica laughed. It was not a nice sound. She's old, David. Old people say things like that. They don't actually plan anything. She probably still has Dad's pension and Social Security. That's it. But the house? That's ours. That's our way out. Silence. Then David quietly, I can't believe we're talking about this. Then come up with another solution. Because I'm not losing everything we've built. I'm not. The recording ended. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, and felt something inside me that I'd been holding together for years finally shatter. That was my son. My David. The boy I'd rocked to sleep, taught to ride a bike, sent to college. The man who looked like his father, who had Richard's eyes and Richard's careful way of thinking, and he was going to let his wife kill me. I called Helen. I'm ready to update my will. We did it that afternoon. Everything, the house, the investments, and the $2 million life insurance policy that no one knew about, went into a trust. Upon my death, the house would be sold. The proceeds, along with all my other assets, would be divided between 3 charities: the Greenville Public Library, the Alzheimer's Association, Richard's mother had died of Alzheimer's, and a scholarship fund for low-income students at my old high school. David would receive exactly $1, as required by South Carolina law to prove I hadn't simply forgotten him. Are you sure? Helen asked. I've never been more sure of anything. What about telling him, confronting him? I thought about that recording. About my son's voice saying, I can't believe we're talking about this, but not saying no. Absolutely not. Never. No, I said. I want them to think they're getting everything. I want them to show me exactly who they are. Helen looked at me for a long moment. Margaret Fletcher, you are more like your husband than you ever knew. 2 weeks later, David and Jessica invited me to dinner at their house. Just a casual Sunday dinner, Jessica said. Nothing special. I went. Their home was beautiful, I had to admit. All gleaming hardwood and expensive furniture, the kind of house that screamed we're successful while whispering we're drowning in debt. Over dinner, salmon and roasted vegetables, very healthy, very expensive. David cleared his throat. Mom, Jessica and I have been talking. We really want you to consider moving to that retirement community in Myrtle Beach. We even made an appointment for you to tour it next Wednesday. Without asking me first? Jessica smiled. We knew you'd say no if we asked. But Margaret, truly, we just want you to see it. If you hate it, you hate it. But at least look. I looked at my son, at my daughter-in-law, at their careful, concerned faces. All right, I said, I'll tour it. The relief on their faces was palpable. After dinner, Jessica excused herself to make coffee. David walked me out to my car. Mom, he said, and for just a moment, he sounded like my little boy. I know we're pushing, but we really do worry. That house, those stairs. I know, sweetheart, I said. I patted his cheek. I know you worry. I drove home with Robert Chen following at a discreet distance. We'd agreed he'd shadow me whenever I was around David and Jessica, just in case. The next morning, I called Helen. I need you to set up a meeting, I said, with David and Jessica. Tell them it's about my estate planning. Tell them I've decided to get everything in order. Margaret, I want them to know about the insurance policy. I want them to know exactly what they think they're getting. And then I want to watch what they do. Helen was quiet. Then, you're setting a trap. Richard always said the best way to catch someone is to give them exactly what they want and see if they can resist taking it the wrong way. We scheduled the meeting for Friday afternoon. David and Jessica arrived at Helen's office perfectly punctual, perfectly dressed. Jessica's smile could have lit up a room. Helen laid it all out. The house, estimated at $520,000. My investment accounts, roughly $300,000. And then, the piece of resistance. The life insurance policy. $2 million. Jessica actually gasped. David went pale. "Mom," he said. "I had no idea, Dad." "Neither did I until he died," I said calmly. "Richard was always full of surprises." Helen continued. "Mrs. Fletcher wants to ensure everything is in order. Given the size of the estate, we need to discuss beneficiaries, healthcare directives, all of it." "Of course," Jessica said. Her eyes were bright, calculating. "Margaret, this is so responsible of you. Really, we're here to help however we can." "Actually," Helen said, "I need to know how you'd like to structure this, Margaret. Have you thought about beneficiaries?" All eyes turned to me. I smiled. "Well, David is my only child. Everything would go to him, naturally." The look that passed between David and Jessica was brief but unmistakable. "We'll need a few weeks to draw everything up properly," Helen said. "In the meantime, Margaret, make sure you're taking care of yourself. No unnecessary risks." "Oh, I'm always careful," I said. That night, Robert called. They drove straight from the lawyer's office to a bar. I got it all on audio. "Play it." Jessica's voice. $2 million, David. $2 million. David. Plus the house and the other accounts. We're talking close to $3 million total. Jessica. "This solves everything. Everything. We pay off the debts, keep the house, start fresh." A pause. David. "She's 74. Jessica. "I know." David. "The tour is Wednesday." Jessica. "I know." Another pause. Then Jessica, barely whispering. "The stairs at her house. They're steep. Old people fall all the time." Jess. "I'm not saying we do anything. I'm just saying accidents happen. She's refusing to move somewhere safer. She's being stubborn. If something happened, it wouldn't be our fault. We tried to help her." Silence. Then David, "Wednesday after the tour. If she still refuses to move, if she insists on staying in that house, maybe we visit her Thursday, help her with something. Maybe she's tired after the tour. Maybe she's not steady on her feet. Maybe she falls. Maybe she falls." I listened to my son, plan my murder, and I felt nothing. Not rage, not grief, nothing. Just a cold, clear certainty. I called Helen. "We're calling the police. Now." Robert had already compiled everything. The financial records showing their debt, the search history, the recordings. All of it handed over to Detective Sarah Martinez of the Greenville Police Department. She listened to everything, her face impassive. When it was done, she said, "Mrs. Fletcher, we take elder abuse very seriously, but I need you to understand, conspiracy is hard to prove. Right now, we have concerning searches and vague conversations. A defense attorney would tear this apart. What do you need? Concrete action. Concrete evidence of intent to harm. You want me to be bait." She didn't flinch. "With your permission, we'd wire your house. Cameras, audio, everything. If they come over and do anything, tamper with the stairs, your medication, anything at all, we'll have them." Robert leaned forward. "Margaret, you don't have to do this. I thought about Richard, about our 40 years together, about the life insurance policy he'd taken out 15 years before he died because he wanted me to never worry." "Yes," I said, "I do." They installed everything on Tuesday. Tiny cameras in every room, audio throughout the house, unmarked police cars on the street, Detective Martinez and her team in a van around the corner. Wednesday, I went on the tour of the retirement community. It was actually lovely. Ocean views, friendly staff, a library that made me smile despite everything. "What do you think?" David asked anxiously. "It's nice," I said, "but I'm not ready to leave my home." The look on Jessica's face was triumph, barely disguised as concern. Thursday evening, they called. "Mom, we're coming by to help you with that box of Dad's things in the attic. The one you mentioned." I hadn't mentioned any box. "Oh, that would be wonderful," I said. "Come around 7. Detective Martinez's voice in my ear, coming through the tiny device they'd given me. "We're ready, Margaret. You're safe." They arrived at 7 exactly. Jessica was wearing flat shoes. David carried a toolkit. "Where's this box?" David asked. "In the attic. Top of the stairs." I put a hand to my head. "Actually, I'm feeling a bit dizzy." That tour yesterday really tired me out. Could you two get it? I'll wait down here. Of course, Mom. You rest. I sat in Richard's chair and listened through the device in my ear. David. The stairs. Now or never. Footsteps. The creak of the attic door. And then, Jessica's whisper. The third step. The railing is loose there. If we unscrew it just a little more, when she grabs it. David. Give me the screwdriver. The sound of metal on wood. My stairs. My home. My son. Detective Martinez's voice. We're moving in. What happened next was chaos. Police flooding into my house. David and Jessica at the top of the stairs, screwdriver in David's hand, both of them white-faced with shock. Jessica tried to run. David just stood there. David Fletcher, Detective Martinez said. Jessica Fletcher, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murder. From my chair, I watched them handcuff my son. Watched Jessica scream and cry and swear it was all a misunderstanding. Watched David finally look at me, really look at me, and see that I knew, that I'd always known. Mom, he said, his voice broke. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We were desperate. We didn't mean, we wouldn't have actually. Yes, I said quietly. You would have. They took them away. Helen arrived 20 minutes later. She sat with me while I gave my statement. She held my hand while I signed papers. She drove me to Patricia's house because the police said mine was a crime scene now and I couldn't stay there tonight. Margaret, she said as we pulled up, I'm so sorry. Don't be, I said. I knew what I married into. Richard was always a planner. He planned for every contingency, even this one. How? I thought about the life insurance policy, about Richard, always 3 steps ahead. That policy? I said. It had a clause. A special clause for elder abuse or any attempt on my life by a beneficiary. Did you notice it? Helen's eyes widened. If anyone tries to kill me for that money, not only do they get nothing, but the insurance company pays triple to whoever I designate. That's $6 million, Helen. $6 million that will now go to the charities in my will. He knew. He knew people. He knew what money does to people, even people who start out good. I looked at Patricia's house, warm and lit and safe. He was always protecting me. Even now, the trial took 8 months. David pleaded guilty to attempted murder and conspiracy. He got 15 years. Jessica fought it all the way and got 25. My testimony was the worst day of my life. Looking at David across that courtroom, in his prison jumpsuit, knowing he would have let me die. Maybe even helped me die. But I stood up straight, and I told the truth, and when it was over, I walked out with my head high. The house sold for $535,000. Combined with everything else, the charities received just over $7 million. The library named a wing after Richard and me. The Alzheimer's Association sent me a letter from a family whose mother was helped by our donation. The scholarship fund sent me a picture of their first recipient, a girl from the neighborhood I grew up in, smiling in her graduation gown. I moved to that retirement community in Myrtle Beach after all. Not because anyone forced me. Because I wanted to. Because I was tired of rattling around in that big house. Tired of being alone. Tired of everything being about what happened. I'm 77 now. I play bridge on Tuesdays, take a painting class on Thursdays, and volunteer in the community library on Saturdays. I've made friends, real friends, who like me for me, not for what I have or what they think they can get from me. Sometimes I get letters from David. I don't open them. Maybe someday. But not now. Patricia asks me sometimes if I regret it. Regret setting the trap, regret testifying, regret any of it. I don't. Because Richard was right. The best insurance is the kind you never have to think about. Until you do. Until you need it. And then, you realize that the person who loved you most in the world planned for every contingency, including the one where your own child might betray you. I wasn't their victim. I was never their victim. I was Richard's wife, and he taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. He prepared. He protected, even from the grave. And when the worst came, I was ready. That's what real love looks like. Not the desperate, grasping kind that sees people as assets to be liquidated, but the quiet, steady kind that says, I will make sure you're safe, no matter what. Richard made sure I was safe, and in the end, I made sure I was safe too. That's my story. That's my truth. And if there's one thing I want you to take from this, it's this: protect yourself. Always. Even from the people you love. Especially from the people you love. Because sometimes love isn't enough, and sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones you need protection from. Get it in writing. Have a plan. Be 3 steps ahead. Richard taught me that. And it saved my life.